Welcome back to Walking the London Road. After 162 days, Oxford United have won an away game, and that's a mere 148 days after our last win. Oxford beat Bristol City by 3-1 at Ashton Gate, and gents, I have to say, I'm absolutely buzzing with that result. Connor, I mean, we'll obviously go into intricacies and all that kind of thing, but I think that away in might well beat the Bristol City away in last year.
Yeah, that's a huge shout, but I can see why you would say that. But, we'll touch on it. Just the performance and the energy that it gave that away end, and the 3 goals as well. Just absolutely insane away end.
Well, a very rare Sunday game for us. Obviously, we had with Hull as well, thanks to some hand egg sport. And although didn't sell out Bristol away like we did last year, it was a pretty good turnout from the Yellow Army.
Yeah, we touched on it last week. We're sort of a bit disappointed with the ticket sales. But yeah, it was a really good turnout from the Oxford fans. I don't know if you guys saw in the concourse, sort of in the second half, in half time, I think we were acting as though we'd just gone up, although we just won the league. So I think it shows just how much it meant to us to get our first sort of away victory. But yeah, it was a really good away out. Really good away end, really good turnout both from the fans and from the players. It was a really good day out, to be fair.
Can I just mention, by the way, it was supposed to be a home end sellout, but I saw a lot of empty red seats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially at half time.
Yeah.
But we're, as you can probably tell, viewers, we're going to be smiling from ear to ear throughout this entire podcast. Before we get any further in, please remember, folks, to like, comment, and subscribe. Really help us out in the algorithm. And of course, you can check us out on YouTube and on Spotify. So, as we always do, let's get started with the lineup that Gary Rowett deployed. To be fair, I wasn't far off my prediction, chatting with a couple of people in the concourse. Jamie Cummings started in goal, a back four made up of Brodie Spencer, Michael Helik, Sam Long, and Jack Curry. Brian de Keersmaecker and Cameron Brannigan, as per usual, the anchors in the midfield, with it appeared to be Nick Predic on the right-hand side, Shemi Poheta on the left-hand side, and Philippe Krastev through the middle, although those three, I should say, did rotate as per usual. You did see Poheta a couple times on the right hand side, which we've discussed before is not good because he's got no blooming right foot. And then of course Will Lancashire up top, looking to add to his 3 goals already in an Oxford shirt. Connor, a very attacking lineup, which was nice to see. Seemed like Rowett was going into this fixture with a bit more confidence than we have the previous away games.
Yeah, he seemed like he wanted to go for it this time, which was nice to see. Nice to see and have such an attacking lineup, and also with the substitutions that he had on the bench. Now, you could say that he had his hand forced a little bit with Curry not being there and Terves not being there, who look like that they have minor injuries. So I'm sure that might have played into his hands, because I'm sure that if he was available, Davies would have been playing in a left centre half position, but Long come in, and Long would do what Sam Long does. It was absolutely effing fantastic once again. So and then on the balance of play, as we'll get into, it was everything from the lineup, all of his decisions and substitutions, all the way until the final minute. Everything Gary Rowett just got absolutely spot on.
Absolutely. Will, obviously, the one man missing from this matchday squad was Matt Phillips. He's picked up a long-term quad injury, so he's out for months. Just how lucky happens after his best performance in an Oxford shirt, but again, like you and I mentioned last week, a very attacking bench. Mike Harris, Luke Harris, Suki Dembele, Tyler Goodrum, Stan Mills, Sibley, also more of an attacking-minded player. Obviously, as kind of mentioned, Terves and Davis with injury knock, so not the depth defensively that we'd hope, but still, a lot of options if things weren't exactly going our way in the attacking third.
Yeah, I think it's typical Oxford. As soon as Matt Phillips starts to perform well, he's sort of out for a couple of months, and there was a big hole sort of left in the squad. And it was going to be interesting to who was going to fill it. In the Coventry game, it was Luke Harris who was sort of put into that role, and he did all right. But I was actually really pleased to see Predic sort of brought in to fill the role, fill the hole left by Matt Phillips. And then you're right with the bench; it was a very attacking bench. Stanley Mills, like again, I mean, we talk about him every week, but like a really, really like strong option to sort of come on and change the game. I think also another thing that was really interesting was Poheta. It's not that he played badly against Coventry. I just think that Stan Mills has done enough to sort of earn himself a place in the starting lineup. Yeah. But then again, like I said, it's good to sort of have that like sort of high quality options sort of come off the bench and change the game sort of in the end of the second half, which is what happened in the end.
And of course, with this lineup, on the opposite side, there was some very familiar faces. Rob Dickey and Atkinson starting in the as two of the back three for Struber's side. Mark Sykes on the right hand side. No Luke McNally, he's out with a significant injury, and obviously Atkinson limped off inside quarter of an hour. But thankfully for the tension between the two sides, no bold, potentially soon to be out of work manager in the dugout. But it was certainly there's definitely a bit of bite between these two sides, regardless of who's in the dugouts nowadays.
Yeah, I quite like it. I said after the City game at home last season that I fear that Bristol City could become the Bristol Rovers of the Championship. It just seemed like after the 2 games last season, it just seemed like, whenever we played Bristol Rovers and we'd get an advantage on one side, then something would just have to go wrong and we wouldn't pick up a win. It just seemed like it was going to be that. So it was nice to actually go to Bristol for once and get a win, whether it be City or Rovers.
And for you, Con, a little bit of personal pride. Obviously, you're there quite regularly with a big grin on your face. I have to say, Bristol's it's a bit of an underrated away day. I think pints very, very cheap, which is is a bit of a shock when you come from where we do. But yeah, a very nice city, all things considered. But like you say, it's definitely going to be one of those games that is going to become a bit bitty, and with all the connections and a certain former scum man on the left hand side that they sing about relentlessly. But let's talk about the game itself. We started again really, really brightly, like we did against Leicester, and that man Will Lancashire again bulldozing his way forward. Had a couple of really big opportunities that unfortunately wasn't able to put in the back of the net. But again, this, and we ran his socks off for 90 minutes. Will, Lancashire is an absolute, he's a superstar. I think he's probably one of the undroppables in this side at the minute.
Yeah, he's really important for us. He sort of gets into the spaces where you just know he's going to score, except for yesterday, where it just wasn't his day. I mean, he had a couple of chances. I think the most memorable one, I know we'll get onto it a bit later, was the one after our first goal. I can't remember if it was a corner or a cross, but he really should have put that away. I thought it went away. I was leaping out my chair in the away end, but never mind. Also, I think another thing to talk about right at the start of the game was sort of the header, because he had a really good chance and he was doing. His football intelligence isn't the best, but one of the good things he was doing was he was just running down that wing constantly, and he had a good chance. I think it was about 5 minutes in where he was trying to lift it over the goalkeeper and he just couldn't quite manage it. But again, I think that was sort of like sort of showing just how positively we started it. We were going at Bristol. We were more aggressive than them. Most of the first 10 minutes were played in their half. I think it was a really bright start for us.
Obviously, with that 4 attackers, there was a lot of pace, a lot of creativity there. Especially Krastev, I thought, had another really good showing. Like you mentioned, Porheta, his sheer pace causing all sorts of problems, and a lot of times where I think because he was running on his right foot, he wasn't able to put the ball into Lancashire, so he could have had a couple of goals himself. With another, I think it was about an hour that Krastev got under his belt. I think he's looking again really, really impressive. He's got that skill about him. He's got that dogged determination, and also, he was contributing defensively.
Yeah, as we said a few weeks ago, he was exactly what we needed to pick up in that left area out wide, or as you alluded to earlier, anywhere across the front. He's just not afraid to get stuck in. He's like a little bulldog, like a little terrier, getting in everywhere, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see a player that's not afraid to, get stuck in and actually go in the faces of other players and actually run them ragged. Not only that, but he can be so skillful. I've noticed, and how he manages to come out of 3-on-1 duels, sometimes 4-on-1 duels, and still come out with the ball of his feet.
Yeah.
It's very, very refreshing. It reminds me at times of Alex McDonald in League Two. when he such a short little stocky man and he's managing to get out of areas. You think, how the hell has he done that? So he's very, very enjoyable to watch at the moment.
If we look at obviously the balance of the game, as you can see on your screens, and this goes across both the first and second halves, but it's a similar story on both. Bristol City had more of the ball, but they didn't use it very well, to be honest with you. We created a lot of opportunities, obviously a lot of times catching them on the break. Don't get us wrong, they had some very good chances. Emil Rees had a couple of big opportunities, one brilliantly intercepted by Sam Long, another one where he decides not to go any further than about 12 yards out and rifles it way over the bar. But we, for the most part, I think we nullified Bristol City's attacking threat really, really well, and will. As we'll talk about kind of more in depth in a minute, I think we were well worth the 3 points.
Yeah, we were. I think when it comes to sort of our defence, I think Sam Long and Mikael Helik did really well. Not obviously just in stopping defenders, but also in the offside, because Bristol City were caught off a lot by our defensive line, which really played in our favour. Because the thing about Bristol is that they had some really, really good balls in. A few of them where probably they should have put it away if it wasn't going to be offside. I remember one, I can't remember how far it was to the first half, but it was sort of, like you could hear the Bristol City fans cheering. It's sort of like they just assumed it was going to go in, and then it didn't. But then the offside flag went up anyway. I think also, I know we're going to talk about him later, but Keersmaecker did a really good job in defence. He was sort of coming back and sort of helping Brodie Spencer, because a lot of their attacks were coming down the left-hand side, and Brodie Spencer was sort of struggling at one point, and Keersmaecker was coming back and making some really good blocks, really good tackles. So yeah, I think we nullified their threats pretty well. I mean, obviously they're at the higher end of the table, so they still showed that they could still definitely threaten us, especially on corners. But yeah, I think we did a really good job to sort of nullify them.
Brodie Spencer, by the way, how he managed to make that clearance, unbelievable.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Incredible. Absolutely sensational defending. You see it from time to time, and it's you saw it as soon as the ball went out of play, that kind of all the players were getting around and giving him a massive slap on the back and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it just sort of, with that clearance especially, it just sort of felt like it was going to be our day, which is kind of rare for Oxford, really. Also, like, I know I mentioned it, but corners especially, that was sort of Bristol City's one of their biggest threats, especially in the first half. They had a couple of corners that were just whizzed just over the bar, just near the post. And I think that clearance from Spencer was the closest they got, really.
Sorry, Sam, before you go on, just encompassing what Brodie Spencer did, it just felt like throughout the whole game, I've been thinking about this throughout the day, it just seemed like that luck in every department fell on our side. And by that, I mean Brodie Spencer being in the right place at the right time. And then also the refereeing decisions that we were getting. At times I thought we were getting a lot more benefit of the doubt than we actually should, but we'll absolutely take that from pieces of luck that went against us. I'm thinking about Mehmeti's shot, took a little deflection and it rifles into the bar. Sam Long hitting the post from a header. And also the big one, which I thought that we haven't touched, that you touched upon briefly, Sam, when Atkinson went down in 15 minutes, that changed their back line and their shape. So the whole game encompassing in luck. It was just nice that for once, in that very rare occasion, that I actually fell on the yellow side.
Yeah, you're right. It's we haven't had that kind of luck for a long time, and at the end of the day, it shouldn't be. But luck is a huge part of football. The ball bounces one side or the other, and maybe the player catches it, maybe they don't. Connor, I want to very quickly mention something that we'll touch on in terms of our defensive line was very, very high. It's the highest that a Gary Routside's defended for a long time. It just felt there was a different vibe about Oxford yesterday. In the way we were passing the ball around, Krastev and Predic and Keersmaecker and Brannigan. We just seemed like a revitalised team.
Yeah, I think that it also shows the time that we've given, in that some of the players, who have returned from injury, but also these players that we've brought in, we're starting to see them actually gel and become a more cohesive unit. And maybe some fears that at times, momentarily, myself included, had during towards the back end of the window that some of these players are actually coming good and then they're working well. On another media platform that I heard today, Gary Rowett previously said that he wants to play the way that Jurgen Klopp played.
Yeah.
You know, that high intensity gegenpressing. So maybe he's got in the players, which theoretically with some of the players that he's got, he can do that. Maybe now that this might be the type of playing that we see that Gary Rowett do, which is conventionally away from what he's typically associated with, which I don't think he really likes to be, because he is that pragmatic manager that will work with what he's got, not what he wants to do. And in a time where, especially in the Premier League, where we have managers saying, no, I won't change, or that's just who we are, mate. It's nice to have a manager who is able to adapt, but also when he wants to, he can go for it and knows what he's about, and also have the humility to step back and say, okay, we're playing X team, or if we're in the game, we need to change it to being really hard to break down. So it's nice to see that we have that competency in a manager.
Definitely. It's something that we spoke about when Rout was appointed, in the fact that, and I think we have for a long time kind of bitten our tongues in terms of, and held our nose in terms of the style of play. We're a football club that we like playing attacking football. We like being on the front foot, expressive football. And, Rout admitted that, said that's the identity of his football club when he was first appointed. We had to, like I said, hold our nose for a bit to survive in the Championship. And like you say, hopefully yesterday was the first step on Gary Rout being able to play that the way he kind of has always desired, but never been able to kind of the squad's available, and we can we can all be happy. He can play the style of football we want. We can see some nice attacking football. I want to mention, obviously, we're a quarter hour in, talk about obviously the big moments, the goals. Like you mentioned, both of you, Atkinson goes off. That completely changes Bristol City's back line. And it's not a coincidence, or not long after that, we win a free kick out wide, and Brian de Keersmaecker steps over it. Beautiful ball in, and Nick Predic times his run to perfection, and diving header means the Slovenian scores his first Oxford United goal on his first start for the Yellows. Will, I thought overall, Predic had a really, really good game. He was, covering a lot of the pitch, and it's nice to have, a variety in the strikers we've got. And, that diving header was kind of, it's brilliant bit of play.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is all because of de Keersmaecker. I mean, that ball in was just excellent. Like, it's sort of one of those balls in where the defenders, the goalkeepers, they don't really know what to do. They're sort of paralysed and feel a bit frozen. And of course, the diving header, like, you're not beating that. I mean, it was difficult to see from the Oxford end, because obviously it's the other goal. I just noticed that everyone else was leaping out of their chair, so I thought, I'll do it as well. And then I saw them racing away to celebrate. And also for Predic, I mean, it's a brilliant moment for him. Like, he's sort of like a lot of like the players have recently joined us. All their debuts, it hasn't been like fireworks. It hasn't been like nobody's come on and scored a hat trick. They've all just been like had really solid starts, and Predic's the same. And it's nice for him to get his moment, and sort of it'll do bits for his confidence. We want another player who can score us goals up front. I just think it's a really good moment for him. I think he had a really good game today.
Connor, I was thinking about this kind of when I was writing my notes for today's show, in the sense that I feel like Nick Predic and a lot of the players we've signed are players that come into our club with a bit of a point to prove. With Predic, he's had 2 okay spells in the Austrian Bundesliga. Has been, on a loan out from Cagliari, and it's clear from the option that the club have got, or the obligation if we stay up, to sign Nick Predic, that he's, that his time at Cagliari is probably at an end. There's a lot of players you can go through, Hellick and Brody Spencer, making their jump back up to the Championship, all that kind of thing. We've got a squad full of hungry players who've got a bit of a chip on their shoulder, a bit of a point to prove, and that that can really only do wonders for us.
That's a good point you raised, because I never really considered our squad like that. That each of them, in one way or another, have a backstory, and they have something that they feel like that they need to prove, or they have that hunger to go one step further. So yeah, that's very, very exciting to have. And as you say, especially with a fair few of our loan signings like Predic, like Krastev, It's exciting. It's you know, you don't know if you have attitudes like that, you don't know how far you can go. So it's something to be very, very excited for. And as you say, even with players like Helek, who made that jump back up into the Championship last season, and he got a little bit of stick for it. Like, why are you going there if you're just going to be playing League One football again next season? Which consequently didn't happen. I guess the same can be said for Brodie Spencer. Like, he's had the opportunity to go up to the Championship, so he's going to do that. It's been on record recently that there's players or player, new father, congratulations, that he wants to get into the Premier League. So, you know, every player's got in that squad's got to have the ambition to go and play in the Premier League. And as you say, Predic, he's probably thinking now that when he was at a Serie A club, he was probably thinking this might be my time, but going out on 2 loans. And as you say, doing okay. I think with respect, is there respect? If we're being honest about it, the Championship is a bit more of a competitive league than the Austrian Bundesliga. So we might be coming here thinking that, you know, even if I get into double figures and goal contributions, I've just stick my middle finger up to everybody back in Cagliari that I am a player, and you don't know what you've just lost.
Definitely. And you know, you mentioned that the Brannigan thing, a very interesting kind of point that was mentioned by Jerome Sale on the commentary when I was watching it back today, in the sense that, you know, Atkinson, Mark Sykes, they ran their contracts down. You know, Dickey left the club obviously for a reasonable transfer fee. Same with McNally, but you know, we've got some, you know, with Brannigan as captain, you know, he can instill how important it is, and you know, the opportunity that they've got to show loyalty to this football club and what they can get repaid with that. Obviously, one goal wasn't quite enough for Gary Rowett's Yellows in that first half. Like we'll mention, a fabulous opportunity for Will Lancashire just after Predic gave us the lead. We caught Bristol City on the break a fair few times, but just before the break in the 47th minute of in those 2 additional minutes, a corner kick that wasn't probably a corner. I've not really been able to see a replay from an angle where it does show that it comes off Shemi's, but you know, it was very vehement that it was going to be an Oxford corner, and Keersmaecker whips in, it gets headed away, I think, by Josh Knight, and then it falls to Shane Borhetta, and he scores his customary thunder bastard right into the top corner. A fabulous goal. We mentioned it just before we came on, Will, that it's one of those very, usual Shemi performances, in that he frustrates for a good chunk of the game and then scores an absolute beauty.
Yeah, all my little annoyances I was sort of having with Shemi throughout the first half, like the choices he was making, the passes he wasn't passing, they all disappeared when that goal went in. It was just, it was just amazing. I mean, yeah, like I said, sort of a typical Borhetta performance. Like, he does well for us. He runs up, doesn't make the best choices. Football intelligence, maybe not at the level it should be. But then he does something like that, and you think, yeah, you know what, forget all that. He can be in the squad as long as he likes. He can stay on for 95 minutes if he wants to. I think also just one thing I quickly want to mention, I know it wasn't in your question, but after the goal, we just kept going at it. And there was one moment, I think it was about 30 minutes in, where Bristol had a goal kick and they were sort of playing it around the defence. And we were really, really pretty much all our players were in their half, really doing well at pressing them and containing them. And the Bristol crowd were getting really, really angry with it. So I think that just goes to show that the fact that we just kept going for it, kept pressing them, kept containing them, really played in our favour after we went the goal up. And then we got rewarded with the second goal, and a great time to score as well, just before we go into the second half, because it really, it's a really big confidence boost if we needed anything more to it.
Definitely. Connor, like we mentioned, we've got very lucky with a couple of refereeing decisions, and like you said, the luck is what you need to get through these games sometimes. I thought the gamesmanship is something we've talked about Oxford squads not having in recent years. This game, I think, was a good indication of, whether it's getting round the players or the players smartening up maybe to what life is like in the Championship. We saw Brannigan, we saw Shemi, we saw Longy and Keersmaecker and Predic, and pretty much every member of the squad. They're a bit more match smart when it came to how to get the luck on our side in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because last week as well against Leicester we saw a bit of that, in when Leicester player got sent off players immediately surrounding the referee getting in his face. So it looks like something that Rowett has instilled during talks during the week, like implement that gamesmanship, get in the referee's face, slow the game down when you can. It wasn't only players who were going down, it was also taking the time for throw-ins or goal kicks or corner kicks, it was just nice to see. It was very nice to, because for so long in League One, and yes, I'm still traumatized by it, Gareth Ainsworth making sure that every single Wycombe player would do it. It's just nice that we can do it and we don't feel guilty.
And it's nice we were doing it against Bristol City, considering what they were like last season at the Kassam.
Oh, yeah.
Cameron Brannigan's sitting down for 10 minutes. He can take as long as he needs, as far as I'm concerned.
I do sometimes have a little bit of annoyance when we do kind of do a bit of the games and shit, because I'm sat there going, the ref's just going to add it on at the end, and he did in this game. He had, was it 8 minutes of added time? But in the moment, it's in those 8 minutes, the Bristol, they felt really, really under pressure into trying to get back in that game. Obviously we've got 3 points. Obviously, we have to mention the Bristol City goal. It's Anas Mehmeti saw what Shameful Head did in the first half and went, I'll try and do you one better. A fabulous goal. It was in a period of the game where they were really getting back into things and they looked more dangerous. Obviously, they've been given a bit of a rocket up their arses by Struber. And yeah, fabulous goal by Mehmeti. Yes, you have to say begrudgingly.
Yeah, I said to myself in the stands, I said, don't let Mehmeti cut in on his right. Whatever you do, don't let him cut in on his right. And what did he do? He cuts in on his right and he thunderbolts it. It took a little deflection, but still, I think that if it didn't take a deflection, it was still going in the back of the net anyway. It was an absolute pile driver, and he's not averse to doing that. Also, he's got a bit of a history with Oxford. He just puts in like at least 8 out of 10 performances against Oxford, but as we said, a little bit of luck, took a nick and went in.
To be honest, I would prefer it if kind of if the one goal you concede is something that the keeper can do absolutely nothing about, instead of a calamitous defensive mistake. I don't mind that too much. But, as we mentioned a couple of times already, we kept on applying the pressure. We kept on, building back into the game. I think it was like you mentioned, Will, Longy hit the post. And, I think that the third goal was inevitable, and it's provided again by Brian de Keersmaecker. A little bit of fortune, it seems to be it was a theme of this game, coming off one of the end of Gregley's dreadlocks, so the Jamaican can claim the goal, and not the Brian de Keersmaecker. But another really, really good set piece, and I want to kind of take a bit of time to really talk about this man, because worthy of the match. Absolutely sensational. We talked about kind of after Birmingham, it was a really decent start for Brian de Keersmaecker. He's gotten better and better and better every game, hasn't he, Will?
Yeah, I mean, his quality that he's showing is justifying his price tag. And again, with the third goal was the same as the first goal. It's all about the crossing. It's one of those balls. It's so perfect. The defenders, they don't want to get on the end of it because they think they're going to put it in their own net. And then Gregley could sort of claim it as its own. I don't know. I mean, I know the EFL sort of given it to him, but I don't know. It's one of those 50-50s. I don't know who should really get it. Yeah, I mean, he had a brilliant game. He showing quality all over the pitch. He was diving into tackles. He did a lot also in defence. I know I mentioned this earlier, but coming back and helping out Brodie Spencer because Bristol kept going down the left-hand side. He was making blocks. He was making challenges. His balls in. I think somebody said on Twitter he assisted every goal. Did he assist the second goal? I'm not too sure. Because I think you mentioned it was a Bristol player who headed it out.
Yeah, it came from a de Keersmaecker set piece, but it was a Josh Knight header that kind of falls to Shemi. But I think in that instance, probably if I should have given Brian de Keersmaecker the assist as well. Yeah,
but it's just the quality that he showed, really, really positive. Again, Twitter, somebody mentioned that he is one of the few Oxford players in the squad you can genuinely see being a starter in a Premier League side, and I think he showed that today. Yeah, I think he put in a really good shift on Sunday.
I think we mentioned, Connor, when he signed that, and similar was with Romani in his first couple of appearances, that he looks a class above the rest. He just got something different about him that makes him so good, and I'm so glad that, you know, we paid the £2.5 million fee or whatever it was to get him out of Hercules, because, you know, he's a fabulous performer, and might go down as a really good bit of business, obviously, you know, because he's we don't have to worry about him getting recalled by a parent club anytime soon.
This boy, right? I think that we've sounds mental to say because he was our club record signing at the time, but I think we just pulled Heracles' pants down and absolutely robbed them. This boy is unreal. I might go so far to say that he's only been involved in 5 league games. He might be the best player I think I've ever seen wear an Oxford shirt. I wasn't around old enough to watch Joey Beecham, but serious, when I'm thinking back, he might genuinely be the best player I've ever seen wear an Oxford shirt. I think that 18 months time, I think we might have found an 8-figure player for the club. He's that good. It doesn't just have to be a Premier League club. You can see him playing in a Bundesliga side. I'm sure that there'll be top flight clubs in Germany that will want him. I said on Twitter that you can see that he's 3 steps ahead of everybody else on the pitch.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. His touch, his vision, his ability to pass, to look up. He always makes it look easy. He glides across the pitch. And, you know, we mentioned it earlier about attitude and what players have to prove. This guy, he seems to bring such a calm presence in midfield, and it just filters out across the pitch. And you can see that we always thought that, like, Brannigan, which he does, like, he brings up the work rate, makes people get up for it. There's like that nice balance that when Brannigan, he gets, because sometimes he does see the red mist and he does get a bit, well, not a bit, he does get very angry at times, but then there's the Keersmaecker who seems to, you know, bring bits down, and his level and the quality that he is, it just seems that that's infected in the right terms everybody else in all of the other playing squad and all the other players in the club. I don't think that we actually appreciate at the moment as much praise as we're given of how special and how good this guy is.
And
we should stop talking. Sorry, Sam. We should stop talking about him. He's crap. Nobody buy him.
I was just about to say, you know, to Blackburn, obviously missed out in the summer. Don't worry, he's not that good. Don't worry about it. You know, go and look elsewhere. You know, fabulous performance from Binder Keersmaecker. But of course, all attention turns. You know, we'll take a few more days to soak in the glory of actually getting 3 points on the board. Only our 3rd away win in the Championship since we returned last year, which is not good reading. But obviously, all attention turns to the return of Chris Wilder to the Castad when he brings his Sheffield United side to town on Saturday. The Wilder impact hasn't happened yet, so surely they're going to come and beat us probably 2-0, aren't they, Connor?
Yep, that's the way it goes. No, it is written that way, isn't it? However, there's going to be more focus on that game on Sheffield United than there will be on Oxford United. Yeah. If we went in and we were 2 teams that hadn't picked up their first win, this could have been a very, very edgy affair, and one that I don't think that a lot of people really would want to be in. But I think that now we've got that first win, you can just feel the momentum and you can feel the positivity go up a notch even further. And if there's any place, quite frankly, that Chris Wilder's going to want to get 3 points to get back up and running, it's going to be here. And I know that it's a lot of water under the bridge now, but still being a former club, Wilder's going to want to come and, you know, get himself up and running. If we get another 3 points, fantastic. Even if we get 1 point, that will be if I'm doing quick maths, 8 points out of 12, when I think realistically we expected to get less than 3. So that would be fantastic. And similarly, if Sheffield United, they don't pick up any points, they lose again and they go 7 losses on the bounce, then it's looking very, very dangerous for Sheffield United.
Well, it's mind-blowing to me. They're still, you know, without, you know, even a semblance of a decent performance in the first 6 games, I think it is, of the Championship, because they've got the players. You know, they, other than obviously Kiefer Moore's awful back pass to Tommy Watson, you know, I thought they were the better of the two playoff sides. It's an I can't put into words just how strange it is, and I'm sure, you know, Sheffield United fans are having the same conversation about, you know, why is it not working. But like Connor said, we've got to be very, very wary because they've got the players, they've got the ability to go and get 3 points at the Castad. But at the same time, like he also says, you know, we've got confidence, we've got that first win under our belt. You know, it could be time to build some proper momentum.
Yeah, it's really weird. It was Coventry, Leicester, and Bristol. I actually felt quite confident for. Not quite confident, but I thought we could get something. Sheffield United, I'm really, really nervous for, which is a crime against logic when you talk about their record. But I just sort of think of it that they're going to look at Oxford as like, okay, this is the team we need to beat to get our season up and running.
Yes,
we need that new manager bounce. We need that momentum behind us. You know, okay, yeah, we didn't beat Charlton, we didn't beat all the other teams we haven't beaten. Oxford United, they're going to be in the lower end of the table with us for most of the season. We have to beat them, so they're going to come in with a heck of a lot of energy. Also, for Oxford, this is a game where we are expected to win, which doesn't really usually work in our favour. If I'm right in saying, I always quite like it when we sort of go into games as the underdog. I sort of feel a bit more confident for that. But then again, like Connor was talking, we got our first win now. We got a bit of momentum behind us. We could pull it off. The Kassam could be rocking. I mean, I'm sure Chris Wilder wants to win at the Kassam, but I'm sure Oxford fans don't want Chris Wilder to win at the Kassam. So I'm sure the place will be bouncing, which will definitely help in our favour. So yeah, it's strange. Like my gut is telling me I'm not that confident, but I guess if I think about it logically, maybe we have a chance. I really feel conflicted about this game, which is weird because I was so optimistic about the last three. Sorry, Connor.
Sorry, but I was going to say, I agree with what you said. The only thing I'll take you to task on is that Oxford fans expecting to win against Sheffield United because, they've had a lot of their squad ripped out by, you know, ending of loans. But when you look through that squad, there is still some serious quality in that squad. And for some reason or another, it's just not clicking. And what we've got to do as a fan base and as a club is say, yes, we've had that first win of the season, and albeit an away win to a team that will probably come the end of the season will still be sniffing around the top six. That's great. We can talk about it tonight, compartmentalize it, but put it behind us. And then we have to go in fresh again to the weekend and say, right, that one's out of the way. We can't get ahead of ourselves now with a team that hasn't won and think, okay, we've done that against Bristol City, so we're going to do it now. We have to go through with each game this season. And what we think is what we've all been guilty of is saying that after this, that's when it'll get easier. But we know how this club works, and we just know that it won't be easy. So we just have to, it sounds so cliche, so mundane and so boring, but we have to take each game at face value. And as it comes, we have to treat every game the exact same. This is a championship side, a side that was within 10 minutes of the Premier League last season. For some reason, it hasn't clicked, and we can't let it click against us. We have to go in that it's going to be exact same attitude that we had going in against Bristol City, on the front foot, get at them, get in their faces, act as if that we're still hunting for our first one in the season as well.
Couldn't have put it better myself, Connor. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching this week's episode of Walking the London Road. As I mentioned at the outset, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us out in the algorithm. Of course, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify. We, of course, after next week, we're going to have a very weird show because, of course, we've got a double game week, QPR away, and then I can't remember who the game at the weekend is, but we'll talk about that at the time. Thanks so much for watching, folks, and we'll see you next week.